why integration fails and why so many organizations, even though it's a simple use cases, they don't have it. I'm telling you from a real experience, resistance. I was doing exactly the same what you say, Hussam, in one of the very large organization in Australia. And I've been exploring the current state. What is the current state you guys have? And trying to get them on board with, okay, this is the modern, let's build a reusable approach. So again, this one, I'm trying to change direction. And it took me a lot, to be honest. And it was not this time a resistance from business stakeholder. Business stakeholder and senior and director were very keen to get things right. The challenge came from, there are people come with furniture, as they say. It's like 11 years, 12 years there, and they build like a database or something 10 years ago, and give it a name, and they call it, let's say, RDA, whatever. And then they start talk about it like it's a system, it's an application, it's hard to change, it's difficult, it's blah, blah, blah. And then once you come to with integration or modernization, those people getting uncertainty, they might lose, they are about to lose a job, or they don't know what's coming, they start to question those kind of things, but they don't have answer. So instead of playing with you or mating with you, they start resisting. So I remember this one of these guys like keep saying, oh, it's RDA, okay, what's the system, what it does, etc. After a couple of months, I focused on other things to win. Again, this is one of things like we need to deliver quick win. I focused on other things. I keep knocking his door between times, I keep escalating things, talk to directors, etc. This guy has been removed from his position to reallocated somewhere else. Lucky we have a transformational leader. But then the whole system, he was just saving and trying to resist against changing it with just a database. And it's a copy of some data available on other two databases. And this resistance, it's one of things like by default, when you don't have the right people to ask right questions, you will get always others. They are protecting their, place in the organization, protecting themselves, and they don't want to share information. They want to keep their position in a way. And this is one example of resistance. Of course, resistance can come from project manager for delivery. I can't talk about resistance like forever. I have seen all types and I don't enjoy it much, but it's part of the job. It can come from the stakeholders. It's always good when you have sponsorship. And this is one of the key things of changing directions is to have a sponsorship. Either project manager on your project, either your head of architecture, for example, someone sponsor your ideas, someone can get in your back and pushing back with you. Don't fight alone. I mean, it's worthless. Second part is a skill gap. Many people don't have the right skill. And the problem here is where we have so many integration platforms in the market, and you get someone from sales sitting with executive, having a nice dinner, selling integration platform to the company, but then they don't ask all the right questions. Like, who is going to implement it? What's wrong with our current technology? How this technology is going to solve it? Let's say we answered, who's going to implement, like a developer who's upskilling this team, who's working with this team to scale? Are we building something for the future? Like we are taking a solution today, it's for at least 5 years coming. Is it ready to serve our 5 years? And then skill gap is really a problem. And the problem, like I always advise people not to spend like 10 years in one organization. It's bad for them. And I also advise organization not to keep people for 10 years, to be honest. I mean, people like organization need fresh blood and people need fresh experience always and different industries. So it's really important, at least the organization, to invest in their teams by upskilling them or exposing them to shaking them from time to time with new knowledge and experience, etc. Legacy system is another nightmare. Let's say you have all the right things box. People are willing to help, and you have the right integration team, and you have all the skills required, and you have vendors helping, and you have the money, and everyone is happy, and life is praying, and all good. Now you hit the rock with legacy systems. You have a systems in your organization. It's 20 years old or 30 years old. And even 20 is good. And some like financial institutions like banks or insurance companies or telecom companies, for example, as well. They really struggle to do anything different from today because their systems is quite old. The way to integrate with the systems is not applicable. It's completely miss. And this is where to enable integration, to enable modernization, you have to go through transformation. And transformation means you need to change your landscape. And landscape doesn't just being a technology. You have different people, you have different processes, you need to implement different ideas. So to your point, Hussam, even though they have business processes, it might be outdated. You might be going to deliver an integration project to move the problem from one place to another. So even though they have business process, you still need to look at what can be improved. How can we improve this business process? And again, we were discussing before you joined on 3 elements: cost optimization, operational efficiency, and benefit realization. What is the one thing that we might do today in this business process to tweak it a bit? One thing that would improve customer satisfaction, for example, or helping us to launch a new product. So legacy systems is another roadblocker to the integration. And the need for planning. And this is something I also often meet. Many project managers, they deliver software, but they don't understand integration. When it comes to how and when and, how to put a plan for integration, I'm an architect, but I'm spending so much time planning because the challenge with integration is not a specialized. You might find a project manager in ERP who's really expert in ERP or expert in billing system solutions. But integration, it's across everything. It's a horizontal landscape. So you have to be aware of what needs to be done here and there, etc., etc. So these are usually the challenge we have.